back again here at the boat. Now that I've just about finished sanding most of it, I'm ready to start a little bit of painting. But before I do that, obviously I've got to clean off all of the dust and debris that came off when I sanded. One thing I forgot to mention that might be of interest to a lot of people is that a long time ago, I had a good friend who built scale models. Now, I'm not talking the kind of scale models that fit in on the shelf in your teenager's room, or those kind. I'm talking about the kind that are actually on display at the Smithsonian Institution. He did some phenomenal work. I never had the patience to do. But he taught me something. One day we were talking, and he needed some matte finished paint, and he only had gloss handy, and he didn't want to go out and purchase a bunch more. So what he did is he took talcum powder, just ordinary talcum powder, and added it to the paint. And when he was done, he had matte paint. So working on that, I came up with an idea that I use here on the boat that helps me a lot, is that I put talcum powder in the paint that we're going to use, but not enough to make it matte finish. I put it in, and what happens is I've labeled on the cans, this is 1 quart of the original can, and I put 3 tablespoons of talc in the can mixed into the paint, after I put the paint in. And what this gives me is it gives me a semi-gloss finish, but actually it's not slippery. If you just use gloss paint, it gets real slippery. Things tend to slide around, your cushions slide around. That gives the paint just a little bit of tooth, so that when you set your cushion on it, it doesn't slide all over everywhere. So thought I'd add that into the paint information. Now it looks like I'm going to need more rags, more things. And now that I'm cleaning up, I see some areas that are going to need some more sanding. So I'm going to cut this off for right now. The other thing that I didn't mention is because I can, all of the tops to all of these were just too much to sand here on the boat. So what I did is I took them to our shoreside place and I laid them all out. And I sanded them there and painted them there. You might take a look at the painting taking place. Okay, I was hoping one coat would work. it certainly didn't. 2 coats didn't work. So this is the 3rd coat on both sides. That equates to 6 days of painting, 3 on each side. I paint and then I leave them sit for 24 hours before I apply the next coat. I'm using a brush, as I might have mentioned before. I kind of like it. To me, it seems like I don't waste as much paint using a brush. I could have used one of those little rollers, you know, the baby rollers, but I think I would lose more paint than I actually had to use. I've got about 1/3 of a can left here, so I've still got paint left over to use on the boat later on, in addition to the other 3 that I've still got. Now, there are little spots, I don't know whether you can see them, that are drips that came off. I'm not going to try to touch those up right now because inside the drop is probably still liquid paint that hadn't dried all the way thoroughly. So we're not in a hurry. We're not going to launch in the next few months even, at the earliest. So I'm going to leave those drops set up for quite some time, and then maybe a month from now I'll go back, put some sandpaper on a hand sander and knock those down and do a little bit of touch up with paint to knock those off to make it look good. So that's it for these tops. Well, there was more dust. I left more dust. So today's objective is I brought a bunch more rags, and I'm gonna pump and spray down and get all of the dust from sanding off. I did a little more sanding around, and I need to get it all off. Now, you might have noticed that I'm going real slow with this. Current plans aren't to launch for a while, so I've got time and I'm taking my time. At this point, I'd rather do it right and be done with it and not have to look back and worry about what was done, know that it was done correctly. So if you're thinking to yourself, boy, he's taking a long time to do that, I could do it in a week. Yeah, you could probably do it a lot faster than this, but I'm choosing to take the cruising style and take my time to do it.